So good afternoon and or good evening, depending where you're tuning from.
Mhm.
Welcome to our Vocation Cafe. Welcome to all of you who are online with us. And Vocation Cafe, it's a place when we come together, have a conversation about vocations and about anything what we wish to converse about. So welcome to all of you. Uh, Please feel free to comment. Let us know where you're tuning from. I see that St. Albert is tuning in, so we're very happy to see you here from Alberta, and Sione as well. And good evening to you also. Please feel free to comment or get into conversations. It's always wonderful to be engaged in the chat with us. As you had a chance to watch previous Vocations Cafe, I had a number of guests from all around the world and different ways of life. And today I'm very happy to welcome Father Jesse, who is tuning us from a little bit warmer weather than we are here in Hamilton, Ontario. He's joining us from Tijuana in Mexico. And so maybe, Jesse, just introduce yourself. Let us know who you are and where are you.
Yes, can you hear me? Can you hear me
Yes, we
well?
can. Yep.
Hi, Jarek. Thank you for having me here today. My name is Father Jesse Esqueda. Right now, I am at the missions on the border with the U.S., but on the Mexico side. We have one of the poorest missions in the city of Tijuana. Tijuana is one of the biggest cities on the border with the U.S. I've been here for 7 years. I'm a missionary oblate of Mary Immaculate, part of the U.S. province, and I was ordained a priest 7 years ago. So I've been here in Tijuana all the time. It's been a great mission, a great place to serve, and happy to be here.
Thank you. And I always heard lots of interesting things about Tijuana.
Mhm.
Planning to go and visit, and COVID a little
I
bit
hope so.
complicated things, but it's on my to-do list. Like certainly, I'm going to be there. And we see our guests are tuning in. So Kyle is here from Dundalk. Kyle, I thought you were in Hamilton, but it's good to see you in Dundalk as well. And we have some guests from the north, from Blanc-Sablon in Quebec. And there is a call as well there. So welcome, Hela. It's great to see you here. So I've heard, and just tell me if I'm correct about it, but I've heard that Tijuana Mission, Tijuana Parish, is probably the one of the biggest parishes, oblate parishes in the world, and probably the poorest one. Am I correct about it?
It might be. See, there's a city of Rosarito. Many people heard of Rosarito. Rosarito is a small city, and I think it has a population of 80,000 people. And I
Okay.
think there's like eight parishes for 80,000 people. Our parish, we had close to 200,000 people for one parish.
Wow.
So we are in the outskirts, we are the periphery. Recently, about 2 years ago, we gave some of the mission churches to the diocese
Hmm.
because it's such a big parish for one parish. So it was divided. A smaller part was given to the diocese, and then we kept the bigger part. We have a lot of migrants from the south of Mexico, but also from Central America. I'm sure you've heard of the migrant caravan that came a
Yeah.
few
Yeah.
years ago, and they continue to come. So they're coming from different parts of Central America. We have on the border right now about 1,000 people that are staying in tents,
Wow.
waiting to get into the U.S. through the asylum process. So it's that type of population. The majority of the people that we work with, the adults, none of them were born in Tijuana. They all
Hmm.
came from somewhere else. Their children might have been born in Tijuana, but especially in the area where we live, because we are, like I said, in the periphery, in the outskirts. We have communities that are extremely poor. You have a community of maybe 100 houses with only 25, 30 people have bathrooms.
Wow.
Um, the squatters, because they come, they squat, they took over a piece of land, they build with whatever they can, and
Hmm.
then that's how they survive. And so that's the reality here, and that's the population that we serve. But it's a great population, a great place for mission.
That certainly sounds like the truly an oblate place to be,
Sure.
evangelize the poor and being with the poor. I want to welcome our viewers again. Here is Serena. Serena is on our vocation team for
Hello,
OMI from
Serena.
Canada. So welcome St. Albert. And Kyle is explaining why he's north, not in Hamilton. Good job, Kyle, babysitting. It's lovely to see that. And Father John is tuning in as well from the other set of the other side of the north side of Hamilton. So
Hello,
welcome.
Father.
Jesse, tell us a little bit just about yourself. Like you're an oblate of Mary Immaculate. How did
Sure.
you get to know the oblates? Like how did you figure out that vocation that you have?
Yeah, it's interesting because I didn't grow up with oblates. I grew
Hmm.
up in the city of LA. My family's Mexican, but I grew up in LA my entire life since I was a child. So, and I work with Vincentians, Vincent de Paul.
Okay.
So I grew up with them. When I was in college, I decided to go to Central America because the Vincentians had a mission in Honduras, one of the most violent countries and cities. So I did a mission experience there for one summer. My sisters did too. So I really enjoyed it. I think the mission experience really opened my eyes
Hmm.
to a life outside of the U.S. I saw children that were maybe 7 or 8 years old, and they were high. They were so hungry that they
Wow.
would uh, inhale cement or glue. So things like that were shocking. So I was there for one summer, and that experience really moved me. I kept on going back every summer. I took friends, and then
Hmm.
finally I decided to move there for 2 years. So I lived there as a lay missionary in Honduras, in San Pedro Sula, for 2 years.
Oh.
While I was there, I was a teacher in an English school. I studied a little bit of theology. And then when I was there, because I had a girlfriend before that, and
Hmm.
I was ready to get married. We were going to have 4 children. It was set. Um,
Well planned.
yeah. But being in Honduras for 2 years, it really opened up my eyes to a different reality. So finally, because a lot of people would tell me, "Have you ever thought of the seminary?" And I'll say, like, "No, that's not for me."
Hmm.
Um, Finally, I was in Honduras, and I said, God, if this is what you want, because I really enjoyed the life of a missionary. I was there for 2 years, living in a really poor area. When I arrived at first to Honduras, they placed me with a middle class family, and
Hmm.
I felt really bad because I lived with an upper middle class family. Then I
Yeah.
would go work with the people that were really poor. So I wanted to have that experience. So I moved in a very poor community. I would have running water for 1 hour every 2 days. So I would open up the faucets and
Yeah.
just fill up, the everything that I could with water. That would be the water that I would use for 2 days. So it was uncomfortable, but it was wonderful. I realized so much about the mission and myself. So in Honduras, I said, if this is what God wants for me, like, okay, God, open doors, tell me where. So I came back from the missionary experience, and they offered me a job at a church named Santa Rosa in San Fernando, California, where
Hmm.
the Oblates are at. At first, I wasn't interested. I said, you know what, I think, because I used to be a youth minister. So they say, we heard you're back from Honduras and we want to offer you a job. And at first, I said, you know what, I'm really not interested right now. They called me back and I went. I took the job. It was the Missionary Oblates of Mary Immaculate. And I was there for 2 years. And I asked God, open doors. And He did. He
Yeah.
sent me specifically to a mission parish. I met the Missionary Oblates, and 2 years later, I entered the pre novitiate in Buffalo, New York.
It's amazing. And Buffalo, New York is just across the border from us here
Yeah.
in Hamilton. Like,
I
really
had
amazing.
no idea what winter
Yep.
was. I had no idea. I thought winter was like 60 degrees, 60,
Oh yeah.
55. So I went to Buffalo, New York. That was crazy.
You knew what that means. Like, that's what we are going through right now.
Yeah, I know.
I want to welcome as well Dan Dion. Brother Dan is joining us.
Hey, Dan.
There we
I was
go.
with Dan in New Orleans for a year.
Yes, he was there for 3 years, I believe.
Yeah, yeah. I
And
was there one
and
year with
from
him.
there, he came out to us to Hamilton and working with
Yeah.
us here. Jesse, I always love when you work with the young people. I think for the first time when we met, it was at we were on the commission for Mission with Youth, with
Okay.
Mission with Youth, and as well the Vocation. But as well, we actually met in 2000, I want to say 17, when we have that youth forum in San Antonio, Texas.
Mhm.
And I always notice your passion for the youth. So you were as a youth minister before you joined the Oblates, and as an oblate, you truly embraced it as well. Like, tell us a little bit about your involvement with youth and Mission with Youth.
Yeah, this is a good story because um, I wasn't a part of a youth group when I was in high school. When I was in high
Hmm.
school, I was pretty much I would go to church. I come from a very traditional Catholic family, but in the high school years, I kind of did other things in my life. Um, After high school, or right before I did high school, I went to a retreat. It was Search
Hmm.
ministry. It's like an Acts retreat, and that was really moving. But I just continued to be in high school, and then Right when I graduated, I had a pretty bad relationship with my father, and suddenly he got sick, and I
Mhm.
stopped talking to him because I used to be very pro. So he got sick, and he got worse. So they took him to the hospital, and the uh, the family, the doctor called us. They wanted a family meeting after a few days that he was there, and the doctor said, your dad is very sick, and it's very likely that he has about a year left of life. So
Mhm.
I was 18. So to hear that about your father, I have 1 year left. I had a bad relationship with him. Uh, so I guess I thought, this is my chance. I have a few months to fix this relationship. I have a year.
Mhm.
But the following days, he kept on getting worse. And I remember it was Thursday, November 11th. I went to the hospital with my mother. It was just me and her. And we were there. And a few minutes after we were in the room with him, his vital signs, everything just dropped to zero. So the alarms went on. I went out and I called the nurse. We already had done a do not resuscitate, because he said his organs were, he was really sick. So
Mhm.
the nurse came in and then she said, your dad is dying now. So I was in the room with him. I was with my mother, and it was just the two of us. None of my siblings or family members were there. Um, so I guess I thought that was my chance to apologize, to say something before he passed away, and I didn't. It was just
Mhm.
amazing because I wanted to, but I guess either the fear or the moment, the shock, whatever it was, it kind of just stopped me. I just remember walking away, uh, going against the wall, and I remember tears rolling down his eyes as he was breathing his last,
Mhm.
and then people tell me, your dad was waiting for you because we had a bad relationship, and that as soon as I got into the room, he started dying. So they would tell me he was waiting for you to get there. He wanted to patch things up with you, a lot of things. So anyhow, he died that day, and I was in the room with him and my mother. So I
Mhm.
remember that day. It was like a shock, like a blur. I remember going outside and calling my sister. I started crying. I said, my dad, he just died. And I felt really guilty because, when someone dies, you want to be with them. You want to hold their hand. You want to tell
Mhm.
them a few things before they die. And I was there. So I felt really guilty. I felt like God gave me that opportunity. I was like the only one there. My mother was praying as he was dying. Um, so that kind of left me feeling upset, guilty. And then I remember going back to the search ministry, and
Mhm.
I went to confession, and then the priest said, you why don't you apologize? Even though he died, he could still hear you. You could see the reconciliation can continue. So that began a process of saying, okay, I need to fix this because I was feeling really bad. So in search, they have people giving personal testimony. So I was going to serve the retreat right after my father died, and then a week before the retreat, somebody that was going to give a presentation left. So they asked me, "Can you help us with a talk?" And I had never done a talk in my life, and I said, "Sure."
Mhm.
So they gave me the talk, and it was on reconciliation. It talked about the prodigal son, the son that
That's
leaves the father's
interesting. Yeah.
house. Yeah, and I remember that never in a public speech. So I remember giving that part of my life. My dad had just passed away, and I remember just crying and just being able to apologize to him and sharing my story. And I remember looking up, and all the young people were in tears, and that was my first experience in youth ministry as serving.
Mhm.
So after that, they kept on asking me, "Can you come share your story at this church, in this other church?" So that's how I got involved. What happened to be one of the worst moments of my life became an opportunity for me to grow and to share with other people. So as I started doing that, I started feeling this passion for helping young people, especially
Mhm.
to improve their relationships at home, with mom, with dad, with siblings. Um, so that's how I started in youth ministry, and I felt that I really enjoyed it. So I left my job. I used to work at a bank, and I started doing youth ministry
Mhm.
full time for the Diocese of LA. And I was doing that with the Vincentians and then with the Diocese of LA. And I just felt a lot of passion for the service
Mhm.
of youth and young adults. And because of that, as I mentioned earlier, I got the job in Santa Rosa Church with the Oblates. And even though I joined the seminary 2 years after that, the Oblates continue to ask me to do work with youth. And I've
Mhm.
done that for about 20 years already now.
And he's still enjoying it.
Yeah, I don't have the energy that I had before. Even people still say that I have a lot of energy. But I think I really enjoy now, especially building leaders, since
Yeah.
I feel that I have a lot of experience. And it's not that youth don't want to go to church, because I've done youth ministry in Texas and in Honduras and in LA and Tijuana, and we always have very vibrant youth groups. Where sometimes we don't have spaces big enough to have meetings. So what I want to help young people is, okay, provide the programs, the spaces for young people to be able to ask questions and grow in their faith, and they will come. And I guess that's been my experience. So now I feel
Mhm.
that my goal is to continue to work with leaders to be able to share some of the wisdom that I've acquired over the years in youth ministry.
Here, I think you might feel a little bit less energy that you might feel, but as Brother Dan says to us, you look exactly the same like you looked 10 years ago. So that's a
Thanks,
little
Dan.
compliment for you. I remember, Jesse, that was when was the World Youth Day in Panama? 3 years ago, 19 or 20?
Yeah, 2019. That was another
18?
story. That's
Oh, I remember part of the story, but here is how small the world is.
right.
Like I remember you were driving from San Jose, Dominica, in Costa Rica to Panama. I don't know how many hours it was, 10 hours
20
that
hours.
it took you, 20 hours drive.
20 hours, yeah.
But I was on holidays at that time, and on the way back, when you were or your group were coming back, I think it was Emmy who posted a post. Here we are on the beach in Jaco, and I thought, I'm right here. And if I knew that you would stop there, I would love to see your group. But I thought the world is such a small place.
Right.
Like the cross
We were on the
crossing
same
that is
beach.
happening. Yeah, exactly. And knew about after Emmy posted it, and like I didn't see, which of course you wouldn't be able to see you there, but it's such a small world. Tell us a little bit about that experience of War Tuesday, because I know
Yeah,
that.
we are in the poorest parish, like I said, and we've worked a lot with young people, also because I do youth
Yeah.
ministry. And part of our goal is to have young people go to school, because that's going to be their way out of poverty. And as of now, we are giving about 150 scholarships. Um, so every year
Oh.
now we have graduates from. We had our first doctor graduate last year, a medical doctor, and next year 3 doctors from our scholarship program. So we do a lot of work with youth ministry. So we talked about Panama. So 2 years before Panama, we started fundraising. The majority of
Mhm.
them had never been on a flight, had never left Tijuana, right? So they were really excited. So we call the diocese. What packages do we get? Is the diocese doing anything? So the Diocese of Tijuana, they recommended a radio station to get the packages, the entire, from this radio station. So we gave all of our money. We made deposits, over about $20,000, a little bit more. I mean, these
Mhm.
kids wash cars. They sell sweets. I mean, for 2 years they were working really hard to be able to get. It was over about 1,000 per youth that we were going to spend. So the week of Panama, they were getting ready. I mean, they were excited. We found out that that radio station was a scam, and that we lost all of our money. Not just us, but
Yeah.
about 500 youth from Mexico, 11 dioceses. So this was like
So
Monday when they told us, you know what, it was a scam. Um, they disappeared. The radio station disappeared. No one's giving us any answers. And this was the Diocese of Tijuana that recommended this radio station. So we had a meeting with a guy in charge, and he just apologized. He had no answers for us.
Mhm.
He said, "Well, there's really nothing we can do. We could see we could lend some money to some people. Maybe some people can represent the rest of the group." And I had 20 young people that were going to go,
Mhm.
and they were devastated. I remember
I
when I
can
told them the
imagine. My
news, they were in
gosh.
tears. They had fundraised for 2 years. They were excited to go to Panama. So I called the oblates, uh, and especially Bishop Pfeiffer. He's a bishop in
Mhm.
Texas. He's in San Antonio right now. He's retired. But when he heard, him and other people said, "No, we're going to help this youth." So they just started making phone calls, and within a day, they called me and they said, "We got the money." So I
It's
remember
amazing.
telling the youth, "We got the money for Panama." So they started crying and they were screaming again, because they thought there was no way. I mean, we took 2 years, but there was no way that in 5 days we were going to be able to fundraise the money. But because it was only 5 days before Panama, there was no flights to Panama. So we got flights from Tijuana to Mexico City to El Salvador to Costa Rica, and then on a bus for 20 hours to Panama. But they loved it. It was
I
great.
bet. Like,
Yeah,
especially for the kids, it's like an adventure,
yeah.
right? That will be.
And I
Well,
realized I'm not that young.
I'm I'm glad that you made it there, because like I watched the news, and as well followed on Facebook the experiences from you and from the youth that they were posting there. It seems like they had time of their life. Like the beginning wasn't pretty because, well, what happened, but I
Sure.
think the whole journey, it seems like, was excellent for you there. And I
And I
welcome
think
as
that's
well.
the beauty of the Oblate family. Because, for example, I felt bad for the other parishes of Tijuana, the other
Yeah.
youth, but the fact that we were oblates, and when other oblates found out, even our oblates Marchants parish from Canada, they gave us
Mhm.
a donation. And they had recently been to Tijuana on a mission experience. And they said, like, there's no way this is going to happen to them. We're going to help them. So it was just an amazing opportunity to see what happens when there's like across countries from
Mhm.
Canada, from the US, Mexico coming together to be able to send these youth to Panama. It was amazing.
It is exactly the experiences that we have in the region here between all our four provinces, Canada, US,
Mhm.
Canada in OMI Lacombe, Notre Dame, the French province, and Assumption, where Martin is, and as well the US. Like all those experiences, and I was so looking forward to have our Belleville Youth Oblate.
Sure.
That would be the first one actually that we ever
Yeah.
had in the region. So hopefully still planned for July. Hopefully, we'll be able to gather. But I think that's amazing experience to bring together youth across the countries and feel that sense of oblation, right, and the oblate charism.
Yeah, the like you said, Marchants Parish, Assumption. Um, they came to Tijuana a few months before, or a year before the World Youth Day, or a few months, and it was a life changing experience for our youth and for their youth. Um, for them,
Yeah.
because they came in, they were able to see the poorest of the poor. For them being here, they helped in building roofs for people that didn't have a roof, or painting houses, giving food baskets, visiting people. And even though they didn't speak Spanish, it was such a spiritual and great experience. And the last day, the last night that we shared together, because we got the same number of youth here in Mexico, so they could each have like a older brother, like a same number of youth from Mexico and Canada. The last day, they were in tears. They were here for a week and not speaking the language in a different
Yeah.
country. They felt so united, and I think that's what faith, what friendship, what service does to people. So I continue to encourage people to come spend the time at our mission or at any mission. For me, it was Honduras, and it really changes your life. It changes your perspective on who we are as a church, as a world, and it opens your eyes of how blessed we are, how much we have, and how little some people in other parts of the world have.
It's so true. I had a chance to go a couple of times with the high school students to Dominican Republic,
Mhm.
and spent a few days in a small village in the mountains. But you were right, like it's like an eye opener, and
Sure.
especially for the kids who are well doing in life. Like
Mhm.
I don't want to say that they take it for granted, but they coming from a different experience. Everything is
Right.
provided. They have a great education, and they go to the places where there's no water for 2 days or so, and it's the experience. It's changing their lives. And even though if it's few days, it lasts forever. You had 2 years experience in Honduras,
I did.
but for kids, like even few days, it's a life changing. So I think what we will have to do, we have to bring a group from Hamilton here, especially
Yes.
after what Father Tony is suggesting here, because we will be looking at the new youth minister here in our parish, St. Patrick. So maybe you would be interested to take it on, youth ministry. I don't think your provincial would let it happen, but
I would love to go to Hamilton. And is it
oh,
Father Tony?
yes, you,
Yes.
you're always welcome here. And
Yes, I really enjoy, especially there's a few things that I've learned in so many years of youth ministry. First, we are different because we come from different cultures, different life experiences. But once you go a little bit below the surface, we are so much more alike than different. And things that work for youth in Honduras, they work in Texas and in New York. The fact that everyone's searching, everyone wants to belong, be loved, have a purpose in their life. So those are a few things that I've learned, and I'm always excited to meet or to work with a new group. Like I
Yeah.
said, working with the youth from Canada was a great experience for us and for them as well.
Well, so just hold on because we might show up, and
Very
probably
good.
not this year, but certainly when we can start flying and
When COVID
travel,
is over,
it's done. I want to welcome as well, talking about the your provincial. I want to welcome our Father Ken Thorson, provincial of
Ken, Father
Macomb,
Ken, hello.
and as he mentioned, being part of the international congregation, it's a true blessing. And thank you for joining us here at at the conversation. And Serena mentioned as well that her daughter had an experience of mission
New Orleans
with
with
Brother
Father Dan.
Dan in New Orleans. Maybe you were that at the same time. I'm not sure.
Maybe because when I was there was a group that came from Canada
Okay.
to New Orleans. Yeah, any mission experience, I think it's so important, especially for youth. Um, there was a study for vocations, since we're in a vocation cafe,
Hmm.
uh, that sometimes mission experiences are more powerful than come and see experiences. Come
Yeah.
and see experiences are great because you go and you see the religious order, but there's something about the mission experience. It gives a lot of young people a sense of purpose, and it helps them to see the world in a very different way. So that's why I promote and I encourage young people to have a mission experience anywhere, New Orleans, Dominican Republic, Tijuana, Honduras, anywhere. And especially if you go to a place that not only is it service, but it's faith and service, it's a powerful experience.
Yeah.
And I share this for the young people because I've been here in Tijuana for 7 years. And again, one of the poorest parts of the country. Yet the generosity of the people. Let me share a story with you. I shared it once in a video. Um, there's this man that comes to our church. He goes to church all the time. He can't really speak. He has a speech problem, and he can't really walk. So he's older, and the way he makes money is collecting trash. That would be plastic, cardboard,
Hmm.
whatever he can to recycle. So he's in the dumpsters looking for trash, and you see him walking on the street. He could barely walk. He can't speak. So with bags of like plastic or whatever, and that's how he makes a few coins a day. That's how he survives. But he's always at church. And I share this story because one day I was doing the anointing of the sick, and I had a really long line. It was after Mass. And before Mass, he showed me he had made 2 coins. It's 20 pesos, equal to $1, about $1. So he was excited because he had that much. And so when I was doing the anointing of the sick, I had a really long line and I was tired. And he saw that I was tired. So he got up and he can't really speak, but he gave me his 2 coins, right? And I said, "Oh, good, you did 2 coins today." And I kept anointing. But he kept on saying, "No, for you, for you." And he said, "Drink some water." He was telling me because he saw me tired, right? And I said, like, no, 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 that's fine, I'm okay. But he kept on pushing the 2 coins. He wanted me to take those 2 coins. And I remember just getting the 2 coins. I stopped for a minute and I said, "Thank you very much." That's
Yeah.
probably what he did for the day. And for him, it was so important that I would take that money and put it in my pocket, in my wallet. And the reason that I share this story is because I realize that you're never too poor to give.
Oh,
And people that have nothing, they give everything that they have. Like the story in the gospel of the widow, they gave the two coins,
yeah.
something like that. So when people, my family, I always say, we could always give and always find somewhere to give.
Yeah.
If it's in your parish, and if you're blessed enough to have a mission experience, then do it. It opens your eyes to so many other things.
I think it's a part of dignity as well. Like I
Mm.
think that people have a, if you are poor, that's what one of those dehumanizing things is, that you feel like you cannot offer anything.
Sure.
And it might be 2 coins, as you said, but that's exactly their dignity, that they feel
Mm.
that they can offer something. We had a man here in the parish. It's an inner city parish, who had the parish envelopes, and what he did, for during the week he was walking around homeless, and whatever change he found on the streets, he would put in the envelope
Mm.
and put it as a collection for Sunday. And sometimes we get $2, sometimes we get 20 cents, but that was his offering as a part of dignity. And you are right, like the poor needs to be able to offer to others as well. Jesse, I want to mention here we have conversations going. Fulgencio is welcoming.
Fulgencio,
Well,
yes.
great to see you here. Father
He
Tony
is
is
in Mexico City, I think, Fulgencio Ochoa. He's in the seminary
perfect.
with the
That's
Guadalupe order. Welcome, Fulgencio.
we all in the mission. And to be careful here, because Father Tony, if he says that he has an idea, that's going
All
to
right.
happen. So watch out what's going to happen. Father Richard Boudet, our vicar provincial, is here as well, and he is on the vocation team as well. Cannot needs to convince him about going for the mission experiences. Brother Dan explained as well about those mission experiences in New Orleans. As he says, he brought the youth for 5 years, and I think he traveled with them as well when he was in
Yeah,
Edmonton for a while. So it's good to see that here.
that was a great experience, especially after Katrina and then all the hurricanes.
Yeah,
And even
yeah,
though it's in the U.S., you would be surprised how many people in some of the cities, and I'm sure in Canada too, some of the cities, inner cities, the homeless, the population. If you go to LA, I mean, LA is one of the richest cities in the U.S., and you have a population of thousands of people that are living on the streets.
yeah.
When you walk Mission Street in LA, is as if you're somewhere in another country. And again, this reality exists, and I think it's important that we see it. And these are human
Yeah.
beings that perhaps did not have the support system that we had, or the resources, or the education, or whatever it is. Uh, but again, I realize that our duty is to do whatever we can. Whoever's in front of us, whoever we see and encounter, that's the person that God put there for a reason.
It's very
So
true.
instead of judging, even if it's just a
Yeah.
little bit of an encouragement, we do whatever we can.
I've heard a number of times, like from our guests who are coming to the door in the inner city, they haven't heard their name spoken for years, and
Mm,
like when someone says to them their name, it's like an eye opener, because nobody spoke to them, or they feel lonely, or people just don't know even their names.
mm.
I want to welcome as well Andrea Lading. She's actually the newest member of the Lacombe team as our communication
Andrea,
coordinator. And so I'm happy, Andrea, you are able to tune in as well with us. And that's so true. In her experience, those who have had experiences of having nothing somehow think nothing of giving, not just something, but
mm,
everything. That's the
right.
generosity of the poor, isn't it? So, Jesse, before I ask you another question, I just want to encourage you who are watching. You can ask the questions before we finish. So, Father Jesse will have a chance to address if you have any questions. If you would like to know more about the mission or his vocation himself, just put that in the comments. We will see that here. But Jesse, tell us a little bit what you do right now. I know you're superior of the mission. You are involved with the vocations. You're on the vocation team, and
I
I
am.
think you're in the parish as well. Just tell me,
Sure.
because I just lost all the things that you're doing.
Currently, I am the mission superior. It's a Baja California mission. I'm
Mhm.
also the pastor of the parish, so that keeps me very busy. I'm also vocation director of the West Coast, and I'm the chair of the youth ministry for the U.S. province. And I was studying, but I put the studies on hold. I was doing a doctorate in ministry, but then when they asked me to do the to be pastor, I said, okay, I have to put this on hold. Um,
Yeah.
but eventually, I would want to continue to go back, finish the doctorate, and then write something on youth ministry, like best practices. And like I said, because I've seen it everywhere in the U.S. and in other countries, that youth are hungry and
Yeah.
they want a spiritual journey, but they need adults that could help them, that could encourage them, and spaces in the church, spaces and programs where they're able to grow. And I said, having mission experience is another great way of giving purpose to the youth. So that's what I'm doing right now. They keep me really busy here, but it's great though. I really enjoyed it, and we have a great team. Um, we have a lot of volunteers. Just we have different programs. One of the programs is called social ministry. In this program, they visit the poor and they give food baskets. Just on that program, we have about 60 to 80 volunteers. So they're
Wonderful.
every day visiting the poor, making sure that they have whatever they need. We have another program. We have students that are studying medicine. One of them graduated, like I said at first, she's the first doctor that
Hmm.
we had, and they visit the sick. During COVID, we had a lot of people die, not because of COVID, but because of other illnesses, and because many clinics were not taking people because of COVID.
Yeah.
So we have elderly that didn't have medication. I remember doing a wedding for a lady that was dying of cancer, and she had pancreatic cancer, and she was really sick, but she still put on the wedding dress, and it was at her house. She wanted to get married by church before she died, and I remember that during the ceremony, like she was having a lot of pain, and she kept on grabbing her stomach as I was, doing the ceremony. And I
Mhm.
interrupted and I said, what's going on? And she said, she has pain because it's pancreatic cancer, and she had no medication. And it was really personal and very moving for me because my mother died of pancreatic cancer, and she died a few years ago. And I remember how painful it was for her, and she had the best medical care, and she had
Mhm.
morphine, and she had all these medications to help with the pain. So to imagine that someone cannot
If you
afford
don't
that
have that,
medication at the last moments of their life. So
yeah.
we started this program of students, medical students, nursing students, and a few doctors that they go and they visit. And they've seen just amazing things that are going on, people that are dying alone, people that just need very inexpensive medication, but they can't afford that. So that's another ministry that we have. We have a ministry for roofs. There's a team that puts roofs on people's houses,
Mhm.
because if you have a leaky roof, then I mean you're sleeping on wet mattresses, or kids cannot do their homework. So just fixing their roof changes their life.
Yeah.
We have a program for seniors. So we have a lot of programs. So we have a lot of volunteers. So even though it's a very busy parish, I feel very blessed because we have a lot of leaders that take care of the work. And I just make sure that I encourage them and I support them so they do this wonderful work.
And it's wonderful to see that people are actually responding to the invitation and want to make the difference. Like that's
Yeah,
what volunteers usually do. I think people give back when they believed in the vision. If they
right.
believed that what they are doing makes sense or is purposeful. I think Sandy Prader reminds us about when we were talking about the poor, like from the sermon of Saint Eugene in the Church of Madeleine. Do you know who you are in the eyes of God? That's
Right,
that's
right,
the,
right, right.
the significant question that we have. Here is the question from Brother Dan. And I think especially during the COVID times, and when that connection with the youth, it's challenging. when
Mm.
when the youth are going through a difficult times, many people can become discouraged in ministry. Like from your experience, what advice you can share to help get through these times, the challenging times, in the moments of discouragement?
I really believe that one of the best medications for depression is service.
Hmm.
I think that sometimes, I mean, depression can be very serious for some people, and for some people, especially during COVID, just being inside so much and being online so much started creating, some depression in young people. So for us, one of the things that we have a lot of opportunities for service. So we invited people to come and help do food baskets, and it was all, with all the safety that we could, with mask and with
Hmm.
gloves and with gel. But we had, especially during COVID, we were giving hundreds of food baskets every day. So we needed a lot of volunteers. And there was a time that many people got laid off from the factories. So we knew a lot of people needed food.
Yeah.
And we told the government told the people that if you need food, to put a white flag outside your house. And there were
Wow.
communities with white flags. I mean, these are all elderly people that didn't have a job and they just needed food.
Hmm.
So being able to provide that. So my advice for young people is get involved somehow. Every city has a homeless shelter, and even if you can't volunteer in person, to be able to organize something, to be able to organize with classmates, socks for the homeless, because homeless need socks, or just something like that. I think that really helps young people to forget about themselves for a little bit and to
Yeah.
think of something beyond themselves. And I think that's really healthy, especially during COVID when many people cannot come together for retreats or youth experiences. Then service, doing something that can really help others. I think it's a good opportunity for them
Mhm.
to get out of the depression or isolation or anything like that.
It's great advice. Thanks, Jesse. And I think you're right. Refocusing from ourselves towards others, it
Right.
always helps. Here is another very practical question, actually. You mentioned that you're delivering the food to those who didn't have with the white flags. Like, where did you get the food, or where they
We,
came
we're
from?
we are really blessed, and I believe that there's so many people that want to give. They just want
Hmm.
to first trust where they're giving, and they everybody wants to kind of make a difference somehow. And I was listening to a short book from Father Henry Nouwen about the ministry of fundraising, something like that. And he was mentioning that if you're fundraising for a good cause, then you shouldn't feel embarrassed because you're giving people the opportunity to invest in the kingdom, and some people
Hmm.
could only do it with funds. So to be able to say, you know what, we have people that need food, help us. So we were very blessed because we have a lot of friends and family members that were just donating. Last year we gave about 22,000 food baskets. So that's almost 2,000 food baskets a month.
So it's
Um,
like individuals are donating the food, or like how
yes,
this
and of course
happens?
the oblates help. They give us some money for that, but
Hmm.
most of it has been individuals, other parishes in the U.S. And what I tell people, and I think this is what convinces them the most: come and see, come
Yeah.
help us put the food together. And when they see the reality, they're moved to be able to give more. So yeah, as of now, we're still giving away a few thousand food baskets, maybe 1,000, 2,000 a month. Um,
It's amazing.
and that's because that's the need. So because we have that opportunity, then we get young people involved, and that gets
Mhm.
them out of their house, out of their head, out of their phones, into a
Yeah.
life of
Yeah.
service.
Jesse, tell me. You mentioned in one of the videos I watched your interview a couple of months ago. How is it to be the superior of your uh, former provincial?
Good question. Um, you know, Bill Antone, he used to be our provincial, and now he's here in the mission, but he's the formation house. And I feel really blessed. First of all, because having a mission or a job this big, I think we need people with experience. And
Mhm.
I was ordained and I came to Tijuana. So I was newly ordained. I've only been ordained for 7 years. So there's many things that I don't know about religious life or ministry or priesthood that I'm learning along the way. So being able to have not just someone with wisdom, but somebody that had the experience of being a
Yeah.
provincial is a great blessing. And I think Father Bill Antone is very humble. He is very encouraging, and and I think we work great because he's at the formation house, and so he knows how important vocations are. So he has opened the formation house so that we're able to take young men to have an experience there or retreat. And
Mhm.
we've been really blessed because from this parish right now, there are 8 people in seminary from this parish at this moment. So
Are
that's a
they with
huge
the oblates or
with the oblates. Yes,
really?
with the
Oh,
oblates.
wow.
8. 6 are with him in the formation house in Tijuana. There's one in Guatemala that just did vows. It's going to start
Mhm.
the scholasticate, and then one in San Antonio. So
It, it,
that's
it is really blessing, like
it
to
is a
have
blessing.
so
Well, one of
many.
them came from New York, but the rest of them from this
Yeah.
parish, and the majority of them, or all of them, came from the youth ministry. So I think having a youth ministry where you feel that you're making a difference
The value.
is a good bridge for vocations as well.
Hmm. That's a good point, and I think you're right. That's how vocations is being grown, but not only grown from your own experience, as you mentioned, having that missionary experience in Honduras for a couple of years,
Mhm.
being in service to others, and being like on the ground with the people. That's when you truly discover or hear God's calling, and it is amazing, really. And I'm so glad that so many young people is answering that. Tell us a little bit about. I know that you mentioned you have a formation house. Is what is it? Is it? It's not seminary, isn't it? Or is it
It is.
novitiate? Or
It
just
is.
maybe is it?
Yeah, it's a pre-novitiate. The
Okay.
U.S. province has 2 pre-novitiates, one here in Tijuana and the other one in Belleville, Illinois. It just moved to Belleville. So the two guys are studying philosophy. And then if the guys in Tijuana, if they learn English and they finish the philosophy, then they will go do the novitiate in the U.S. If they don't learn English, then they'll do the novitiate somewhere else. But Beto, that's a guy that finished about a year and a half ago.
Hmm.
He did his novitiate in Guatemala, and now he's in the scholasticate in Mexico City for the U.S. province. And then Brandon finished the philosophy, then he did his novitiate in Belleville, Illinois, and now he's in San Antonio. So it is an actual formation house. It's a seminary. They're studying philosophy. They're living in community and all of that, as if they would in the U.S.
Hmm.
So that's the two
That's
formation
amazing.
house. And Bill Antone, our ex-provincial, he is the formator right now. And one more thing about Bill, and I think this is really important. One of the things that really moved me about the oblates, first of all, Louis Logan, who was our superior general now, he
Mhm.
was with us in the novitiate for 2 weeks before we got our novice master. But when I met him, we had dinner. He was a provincial, and after dinner, he picked up my plate and other plates, and he started washing them. and
You're
then he was
talking
sweeping.
about Louis Logan.
Louis Logan, yes.
Yeah.
And I remember saying, like, wow, what a great example. No one's too big to serve and to wash dishes and clean the floor. But I'm saying Bill Antone too, because that's been Bill Antone too, our ex provincial. I think he fits in very well at the mission because he's also serving. He also has a mentality that we have to be with the people. And because of that, I think we've learned a lot from him being here at the mission now. So I think those are characteristics of oblates that I feel, for me, they were very moving. And
Mhm.
for me, they were very inspiring to see our leaders picking up a broom and cleaning up, washing dishes.
Yeah.
That to this day, I still think about that.
It's the one thing that is truly inspiring, and that's what I love about the Oblates. It's not about climbing the ladder; it's about the service. So even if you are in the leadership position, even if you are provincial superior general, you see that as the ministry
Right.
and service to others. I've been. I don't think just you were there. That was few years ago. We had in Aix-en-Provence the gathering for youth mission with youth congress. So that was like
Yeah,
uh,
David, I think, was there,
I think
right?
David was there.
Yeah.
That's right. So that saying that Louis was already superior general at that time, and we had the ministries after like a schedule. So
Uh,
after every meal, we were doing the dishes and all this stuff, and he was on the list as well.
right.
So
Yeah.
like everybody else, he was assigned. So okay, Louis Logan has the doing the dishes after supper on Thursday or something like that.
Yeah.
And he was right there. I mean, the service is unreal how inspiring it is and
It is.
insightful to see that. Jesse, as we are wrapping up slowly here, I want to ask you just one question. What would be your advice, or what would you say to a young man? And we are talking specifically here to young man who is discerning the way of life, religious life, from the oblate perspective. Like if somebody came to you, tell me what is it about the oblates? What should I look at, or like give me some direction, like to the young man who is maybe thinking about oblate
Okay.
vocation. Like, what would be your advice?
Sure. And I think this is important for us oblates too when giving advice. I think I am a very happy priest. I am very blessed to be an oblate. I think for me, it's been the best life that I could have. Um, and I think it's important for young men to see that, not just to hear it, but
Mhm.
to see oblates doing their service and their ministry with joy, because that's attractive. And I would definitely tell them that. I see so many people that are not happy, married,
Mhm.
single, rich, poor. So many people that are just tired, stressed out. Depression has gone up. So I tell young people, apparently there's something that's going on that's not working. Why don't you try living a very different way? Just give it a chance, and maybe this could be a calling for you. Of course, you could be married and be very happy, and you could be single and be very happy, but you could also be a priest and dedicate your life to service and be extremely happy. And being a priest, you have so many opportunities to focus your life on that. Um,
Mhm.
my job is to serve. I mean, what a blessing. My job is to go to mass every day, to pray every day. How many people have the opportunity to do that? I have a sister that's a therapist and another one that's a psychologist in LA. And they tell me, we wish we had time to do a 7-day retreat like you do. They're
Mhm.
married, they have children. We wish we had time to just focus on growing spiritually. And life can be very hectic. They're trying,
Yeah.
and I think it's great. But what a blessing that we missionaries have the opportunity to serve, to grow, to really give our lives for the service of others. So I would tell any young people, give it a chance. And you will see it's really true what it says in the gospel that God repays you 101. You give up some things, but you gain so much more. It's a beautiful life, and I
Absolutely.
would not change it for anything. So I would tell them
That's
that.
that's the witness, and I think that's the most important because the young people are being attracted by the witnesses, not by
Sure.
by the words, but truly what being offered there. So thank you, Piotr, as well here joining us and the great conversation. And I want to thank to all of you who are joining us and participating in the conversation, asking questions. And the video will be available. It will stay on Facebook, so you can share that with your friends or maybe someone that you think would
Yeah, I didn't
kind
post
of
it. I
hear
should have put
something
the link,
about it.
so I'll do the video.
They can do it after, and
Yeah.
it will be as well available on YouTube. I will post the link after when it's ready, So Jesse, I want to really thank you for tuning in and sharing your story. I think that's truly inspiring, and seeing you in service towards others. I really want to thank you for that and for your passion, working with the youth, working with the poor. And I think that's what inspires. So thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing for your story, and be ready because we will show up at your door and at some point.
Yeah, thank you, Jarek, and all the people that are part of this cafe. Thank you for listening to this conversation. And everyone's invited to our mission or just to any mission. I think we're all missionaries, and we all have a responsibility to serve, and that's where we find a lot of meaning in our lives. So I encourage all of you. And I know most of the people that tuned in are already doing that. So thank you for your service too. Thank you, Marek. I hope this year or in the future we do more events between Canada and the US and in Mexico. So thank you for this
Absolutely.
opportunity, Jarek.